Welcome to Threshold, a place where we explore the sacred in the ordinary and the beauty in the in-between. I'm Molly Wilcox. I'm a wife, a mom, a writer, and your guide as we step over life's thresholds together. Whether you've been reading my newsletter for years or you're just discovering Threshold here, I'm so glad that you're listening. Together, we reflect on faith, creativity, and the small but meaningful ways we're being transformed in the everyday. Let's dive into this week's reflection. This week's Beyond the Labels guest post is from Abby McDonald, a writer and friend who I deeply admire. Abby is an author, editor, and writing coach with a passion for helping women get unstuck and respond to God's voice in the middle of life's messes. She's written 2 books, Shift and Surrendering Certainty, and contributes regularly to Proverbs 31 Ministries. I'm so grateful to share her story here today about finding identity beyond the title of mom. Whether you're in the thick of early motherhood or just feeling like you've lost a piece of yourself, I think her words will speak gently to the deeper truth we are not defined by our roles, but by a God who sees and loves us complete. And just as a reminder, these words are all Abby's, but I will be narrating today's post. I remember the first time our 8-year-old realized I had a name other than Mama, and that his dad had a name other than Dada. We were sitting at a dinner table, and my parents were visiting. Of course, they didn't call us Mama and Dada. It was as though a light bulb went off in that little brain. The fact that we were people before we became parents was new territory to explore. Questions came pouring out faster than he could formulate the words. I smiled, but made sure he knew that to him, my name would always be Mama or Mom, or some variation of it, but never Abby. I wear the title proudly like a badge because motherhood changes us, doesn't it? And yet, at the same time, I don't ever want it to completely define me. There are times when I have to remind myself that my identity exists outside of the roles of wife, mother, and friend. These different roles shape me and mold me, but they don't determine who I am. Some of you reading this may be puzzled, so let me explain. My search to discover who I was began after becoming a mom. I remember those first days when I couldn't get my newborn to stop crying, and I would cry right along with him. Everything about my supposed birth plan had failed. Instead of foregoing the epidural, excruciating back labor made me take one in the early stages. Instead of delivering naturally, I had an emergency C-section. I clung to breastfeeding like a lifeline, but when the nurse thought I had a pulmonary embolism a few days after leaving the hospital, I almost had to give that up too. In the days after family left and my new baby and I were alone, I tried to cling to something stable. I had always clung to labels, but they were eluding me. Student, worker, daughter, wife, and now mom. I felt like I was failing miserably at the last 2, which were both new to me. And because I felt unsuccessful in my roles, I didn't think my life was worth anything. To be quite honest, there were times when I thought my new child and husband would be better off without me. Somewhere in my darkness, I sent up a simple prayer: help. And because God doesn't care about the eloquence of our words, but the heart behind them, I got my answer. Not in one lightning bolt of truth, but in a slow, constant rhythm. Although I couldn't see them in the moment, his answers were like fingerprints on the story of my life. Over time, he showed me I would never know who I was until I learned who he was. The more I learned about him, his love and unchanging character, the more I discovered my own unique identity. I learned these different hats I wore, mom, wife, friend, employee, were meant to enhance the person I already was, but never define me. If you hang your identity on a finite role, you will never discover who you are as an eternal being. He created each one of us to leave an eternal mark, and while our families are a huge part of that, they are only one part. It is up to us to discover the distinct gifts he gave each of us, every one given to reflect his glory. Do I love being a mom? Yes. Over time, I've grown to love it more and more. But when my children are grown and it's just me and my hubby, I will still be me. And if it takes me a lifetime to discover who that person is, it will be worth it. Thank you again, Abby, for sharing your words with us here. Abby's story reminds me that even when we feel lost in the labels we carry, God still sees the whole of who we are. Maybe you're in a season where these roles feel heavy or confusing, and know that you are not alone. I hope Abby's words give you space to exhale, to feel seen, and to remember that your identity is secure in something far deeper than titles or labels or roles. You are known and loved just as you are. Leave a comment or share this episode to thank Abby for her contribution. If Abby's story resonated with you and you're in a season where motherhood feels heavy, especially if you're struggling with postpartum depression or anxiety, or even if you're not sure, please know that you're not alone. Your pain doesn't disqualify you from God's love or his purpose for your life. I wanted to share a couple of Christ-centered resources that may offer support, encouragement, and help. I'll have the links to those in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today on Threshold. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend, subscribe, or leave a review. It all helps so much. And if you're not already part of the community, you can join the conversation by subscribing to my weekly newsletter on Substack, Threshold by mollywilcox.substack.com. Until next time, let's keep finding beauty in the in-between.